Welcome to Sports Scope, the most influential sports talk show in the nation.
What is today, the 19th?
Stay tuned for updates and great sports content.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Sports Scope. I'm your host, Robert Butler, on this 26th day of September. September's a great month. You know, we have the start of college. We got to start the NFL. And I'll tell you, folks, it goes by really quick, almost towards the end of the month. Once, you count down the football season. And then when you're here, it's like a blur, So either way, I got a great show tonight. Going to go over last night's games. I got some thoughts in both games, all four teams in last night's games. Plus, interesting story about Josh Dobbs. Could he be a pleasant surprise for the Arizona Cardinals? He is surprisingly good. I'll give you my Power 5 and more. Let's go ahead and take our first and only break. And we'll be back here in 49 seconds. Hit the ground running here on Sports Scope. Hello, Sports Scope followers. The program has seen tremendous growth since going 5 days a week. I just wanted to thank everybody for your cash contributions and sharing the program with friends and families. Just a reminder, if you want to contribute to the program, go to the Cash App, the cash sign, and Sports Scope. There are other ways to contribute to the program listed at the bottom of the screen. If you want to advertise on the program, go to sports, that is sports with an S, another S, scope, SKOPE, at gmail.com, just like it's listed at the bottom of the screen. Thank you and enjoy the program. Alrighty then, I'm back here live. Okay, also want to make a quick announcement. John Restano from Spitballin' Sports will be here tomorrow, 30 minutes into the program. John Restano. Cannot wait to bring John back on the program here. John's got a great show on Spitballin' Sports here. Comes on Friday nights. I think he has some other dates that he does shows too. He does hockey stuff, But he also does talks a lot of Bills talk and hockey talk. But also he's a big he lives in the Bills area, Niagara Falls area, and but I really wanted to ask him about Ohio State. John's a Ohio State fan, and I was for sure, myself, Keith Engel, even a lot of the national media were for sure that Notre Dame was going to beat them. I was totally positive with the way Notre Dame's defense had been playing, the way Freeman has got recruiting back, tighten recruiting up and bringing in Sam Hartman, that they were going to beat Ohio State. So going to get his take on the Ohio State side of that, ask him who is the best college team. So make sure to tune in. John's a great guest. Always one of my favorite. John, Keith Engel, and Jeffrey Deskovic, and of course, Carlos. Very good guests. Guys are awesome. They always deliver. They are very reliable targets. If I were a quarterback, folks, they are go-to guys. If I were a point guard, they would be the players that I would go to on the post or in the wing, open for three. Okay, so love my guest here. Make sure and tune in. John Restano. Looking forward to catching up with him, seeing what his thoughts are on the season. Very good guest. Okay. Had to get that out. Got to plug the guests. Love these guys. They're great. Okay, now, let's start off with the first game last night. There's a lot of sentiment out there about the Eagles that I think that people are jumping the gun on. Okay, I understand that teams that win the Super Bowl do not go back to the Super Bowl. Only team that's done that lose the Super Bowl, do not go back to the Super Bowl. No, only one team since 1994, when the salary cap was put in, has done that. That team was the New England Patriots, Bill Belichick, Tom Brady, we found out now we're dealing with a couple of legends. That being said, it does not mean, folks, that the loser of the Super Bowl is going to be bad and fall off a cliff. You got guys from Fox Sports, Colin Cowherd, Jason McIntyre. Take the points. Tampa may get the outright upset. They're really talking up Tampa against Philly, and I'm thinking, I don't see that. I saw that Minnesota game that Philadelphia had a lot of injuries, particularly in the secondary. They were going against a really good offense who wanted to get back at them for beating the crap out of them last year in Minnesota, and gave them a heck of a fight. And of course, Minnesota comes up short. But last night is about what I expected this Eagle team to play. Listen, folks, I said I expect this Eagle team to play really well, probably win 12 games, maybe 13, and maybe Dallas slip past them now. Of course, they're starting to get injuries on the offensive line. They got upset. I'm going to talk about Josh Dobbs in Arizona here in a little bit later with that team. But, this Eagle team's really good. And here's some stats to prove it, okay? You look at Jalen Carter. Jalen Carter was arguably by a long shot the best defensive tackle in the draft. He was arguably at one time the number one pick, the number one overall pick before Bryce Young took off in the season last year. But then he got in trouble. He got the charges there. I'm going to have John Restano on tomorrow. He's a big Ohio State fan. He looked like he was a little winded in the semifinal game. That Ohio State team was coming in with the hurry up, and he was winded in that game. He looked a little out of shape. He came in camp out of shape. He left the combine to go turn himself in. He comes back to the combine. All that being said, the guys turned out to be, so far, as advertised, okay? Looking at some of Carter's, some interesting little stats here I've read. Okay, this is from NFL Rookie Watch. Pretty good site I follow here on Twitter on the new X out. Jalen Carter currently has the most pressures, 15 of any defensive tackle in the league, the most hurries, 12 of any defensive tackle, and third most in the entire league. He is tied for most forced fumbles, 2 of any defender in the league, and a pass rush rate of 21.9% through 76 rushing snaps. The Eagles' defensive tackle looks like one of the best interior defenders the NFL has to offer. So you're putting him beside a guy like Jared Davis. Davis looks the part. Carter is the part. He is that defensive. He is that Albert Haynesworth. He is a little bit bigger, not quite as fast, Aaron Donald caliber of player. He's what you want for every defense. Over edge rusher, over cornerback, over linebacker, safety. You want a Jalen Carter. This is why the Philly sports guy was so excited. This is why he was so excited. So this guy's a house of fire. Okay. Then you look at this running back here, DeAndre Swift. Also got to credit Jamie Paggs. He says he didn't like the way that the Detroit Lions was using DeAndre Carter. Okay. And he says in our offense, he will be more successful. This guy, 170 yards, 130 and 170 of the past 2 games. That's 300 yards over the past 2 games and a touchdown. I would just load this guy with the rock, okay? If I'm the Eagles, I would take that rush up the middle that they want to use in that offense coming over from that Shane Steichen offense, using Jalen Hurts in that way, and use this guy. He's young. He's hungry. He wants that second contract. He's coming over from a trade. He's running on the best line in football coming into this year, and they're all still pretty healthy. Good things are going to happen. So he only had 16 carries last night for 130 yards, Pickles. 16 carries for 130 yards. That is pretty freaking good, considering that the defense is supposed to be the strength of this Tampa Bay team. So, you know something, I do think that this team, I'm going to do my Power 5. They're in it. That being said, going back to other teams who've lost the Super Bowl that have played great in the regular season, and went far in the playoffs the very next year, they simply did not make it to the Super Bowl. For example, I'm out of Nashville. Tennessee Titans get to the Super Bowl 99 and 2000. 2001, better team, folks. Tennessee loses 3 games by a combination of 7 points. 3 games by a total combination of 7 points. They lose in the divisional game to a red-hot Baltimore Raven, an opportunistic Ravens team. You look at this Bengal team last year, a year before last, they make it to the Super Bowl, lose it in dramatic fashion, come back the next year, which is last year, and they go all the way to the AFC Championship game and have a clean shot to get back to the Super Bowl. They do not get back. Kansas City gets back. So it does happen. It's not always where a team loses the Super Bowl and they fall off a cliff. Now, some teams do because they lose a lot of players in free agency. You've got early injuries and whatnot. But I do think, all that being said, I do think this team will probably be a second or third team, particularly a second seed. I don't think they'll be a first seed in the NFC this year. It's the hardest schedule in the league. I think Dallas will recover. The San Francisco 49ers, they look to be off to a great start, have more balance, a little bit more hungrier. Lot going on with this Eagles team behind the scenes. A.J. Brown, there was another incident a couple weeks ago. He's complaining about getting the football. That can blow over. But other than that, they're good where they need to be good. Offensive line, defensive line. But that being said, you got Jason Kelce, 36 years old. Lane Johnson, 33, 34 years old. It's still, according to Bill Belichick, it's still in the first quarter of the season, folks. We're 4 games in, but they're not going to be terrible. So I'm not really that surprised that they played well last night. They're still a very good team. They're built the right way. They are a team that the model should be. The model of the modern NFL, get that offensive line right first. Then get that defensive line right. Then you take care of your skill players. Obviously, quarterback's a given. You need a guy with leadership skills. He doesn't have to be all world. He's got to be mature. He's got to make good decisions, but he doesn't have to be the perfect prospect. You want to have the best offensive line you can possibly get, and preferably you want to have the best line in the league. That would be my goal as a general manager. So Howard Roseman's done a good job, folks. He's done a good job. That being said, I can see Washington beat them on Sunday. Washington's a hungry team. They got the crap beat out of them the week before last, but they did split with Philadelphia last year. So it's something to keep up with. Okay, the other game. All right, so Bengals, as I predicted, with or without Joe Burrow, the desperation of this team, being at home, Rams played a little bit over their head early in the season, early first 2 games, kind of came back down to earth. Okay, so the Rams, as I said, that offensive line for this Ram team is still a little bit shaky, okay? But I will say this, Lou Anarumo timed up some perfectly good defensive blitzes. This guy is the best modern day 2023 defensive coordinator out there. As far as timing up blitzes, that's hard to do in this NFL nowadays. It's really hard to do that. He was bringing Pickles. He was bringing the safeties up to the line of scrimmage, blitzing corner safeties, and timing them just right, man. I used to do that on Madden. It's really hard to do that, especially you're going against a guy that is a Super Bowl winning quarterback. He was a former number 1 overall pick, and they're still getting to him. So they end up getting to him 6 times. Now, Trey Henderson played well, of course. Sam Hubbard over the middle played well defensively, and they got to Bradford. Like I said, they got 6 sacks on the guy. You know, yeah, six sacks and 2 interceptions. I mean, they played well, and then they held this Kyron Williams, who was taken off the world by storm. Held him to 38 yards rushing. Now, Tutu Atwell did have a 22-yard run, but they kept that Rams offense in check. And that being said, Pickles, Joe Burrow hobbling around all over kind of reminds me of the way Patrick Mahomes played in the playoffs last year. You know, he's hobbling around all over the place. But, you know, you got to give credit. Jamar Chase, 12 catches, 141 yards off 15 targets. Zach Taylor, I got to give him credit for moving Chase inside, outside, okay, across the middle, screens, slants, you name it. I mean, this guy was doing everything. Jamar Chase was the MVP of that game. And then you got 65 yards and a misdirection touchdown run by Joe Mixon. So that is exactly what I would have told that team to do coming in, is this guy's hobbling around here, Burrow's hobbling around all over the place. He can't carry this team like he normally does and put the ball in the keyhole. He can't have those Montana to the White Clark-like plays. He can't throw those perfect down the sideline, Dan Marino level throws that he normally does, those back shoulder passes. He's going to have to hobble around here all over the place and throw screens. And this offensive line, you're going to have to block better. Joe Mixon, you're going to have to get 3 yards when you normally get 1. When you normally get 3, we need you to get 7, maybe 10. Okay? And defense, we're going to have you get some takeaways to win. All that put together is exactly what they did. I went to bed last night, Pickles, and they were up by 7, and they were driving to go up by 10. I woke up this morning, and they won 19-16, coming away with the win, edging by staying alive the Rams. Now, like I said before that game, I think that Zach Taylor and ownership, general manager Mike Brown, that old man up there, is cheap as all get out, who just gave Joe Burrow a ton of money, rightfully so. They're playing with dynamite here. They are playing Russian roulette with their franchise, having Burrow throw out there flat-footed. He got slung down a couple of times by Donald, but with that calf injury, he can tear his Achilles at any time, folks. And they're at home, emotional game. That's a team they lost to in the Super Bowl a couple of years ago. Remember, we're talking about the Rams here. And now they got to come down south here to Nashville on Sunday, Titan fans. Okay. And the Titans were humiliated. They couldn't run the ball. He didn't throw no touchdowns thrown. I mean, he didn't. I don't think he had any interceptions, Ryan Tannehill. But that defensive line of Tennessee's as a whole is better than the Rams. I know that Donald's better overall, McDonald's kind of past his prime. With Arden Key there, Landry, they could put and listen, folks. This team's beat Tennessee 3 straight. They're chomping at the bit to put a guy like Joe Burrow out of his misery for the 2023 season. Okay, they're chomping at the bit. I don't know if I play him if I'm Zach Taylor Pickles. I just don't know if I do that, man, because Tennessee's going to come out like a house of fire. They're not going to be coming up here playing for charity for the league. Let's not hurt the league by slamming down Burrow too far. They're going to bring some heat on Joe Burrow, you know. And their defensive line plays Tennessee really well. Sonorski, I don't know if he's going to be back. He's still listed as questionable. We won't know that probably until Thursday or Friday, per se. And that will be one of the games that I'll break down with Carlos Mad New Yorker Chavez on Friday. Now, I'm going to give you my 3 best bets against the odds on Thursday, and I'll throw in one daily fantasy lineup. But this particular game, if you're a Titans fan, Cincinnati needs this game. As I told you, Tennessee fans, okay, Tennessee, realistically, those first 6 games are a nightmare, okay? Looking ahead to Cincinnati, they're 3-point favorites now because Burrow's playing. He's playing at about 50%, maybe 55%. He made one good throw up the sideline to Chase, and Higgins looked banged up. He went to the locker room. I don't even know if Higgins is going to play Sunday, okay? I mean, he could beat us hobbling around down here in Tennessee. I get it. But Tennessee, if they get Sonorski back there, getting this team on a short week, playing in Nashville, Tennessee coming off an awful game. They're a little bit shaky on that back end, this Cincinnati team. They lost their best safety to free agency, Jesse Bakes, but they went on to sign Orlando Brown for one good reason, because to block like he has been blocking and giving Burrow a little bit of time. But Tennessee should beat them. But Burrow playing like he did Monday night, he's still going to be sore some more. He's going to come down to a game time decision. I could see Tennessee finding a way to beat this guy. They're 0-3 the last 3 games, including an embarrassing loss where Tennessee felt like they had the better team in the 2022 playoffs there. Well, they were the number 1 overall seed. This team beats Tennessee and makes their way up to the Super Bowl here. So going back to Tennessee now, so if they win Sunday, they'll be 2-2. Okay, they've got teams like Baltimore next. Well, Baltimore's got 7 starters that's been out. Baltimore lost to the Colts. Okay, they can beat Baltimore. Okay, so their schedule after this first 6 here gets a lot easier, folks. It gets a whole lot easier. So if they win, if they beat, go 2-2 and beat Cincinnati, and then they beat Baltimore and get that 3rd win, I think they got the Colts in there somewhere. But if they beat this team in Baltimore, and for whatever reason end up 3-3, they've got a bye coming up after that. Then they get Pruitt back, and they can have Sonorski, Pruitt back. That's Nicholas Fareed, whatever his name is. Not Pruitt, Nicholas Petit, whatever. The right tackle who's had the gambling problem. Had the gambling issue where he basically was gambling on at the facility, and that was a technicality. So you got him back after week 6. You got Sonorski supposed to be back from his appendix problem or whatever. Now you're starting to have some cohesion there on the offensive line, which I said that they need like nobody's business. At that first 6 games, the schedule gets a lot easier, okay? Jacksonville doesn't look like world beaters as expected to look, okay? Houston's much better, but they're still breaking in a rookie quarterback. The Colts are still breaking in a rookie quarterback. Their schedule gets a whole heck of a lot easier. And then you got So they still have an outside shot to win this division. It starts with catching a team weak, like Cincinnati is right now, being aggressive and scoring some touchdowns and making Joe Burrow throw the ball and check it down and making that tackle in front of you. But going back to Cincinnati, there's a chance he could get knocked out for good. He could tear his Achilles against. I don't want not that to happen. The league is bad if you have a guy like Joe Burrow go down. It's not good for the league. It's not good for the league if Mahomes goes down. It's just not. I don't want it to happen. I don't want anybody to get hurt. I didn't want Chubb to get hurt last Monday. But it's part of the game, and I'm just saying this is not a good spot for Cincinnati, folks. Titans should run the ball, control the clock on Cincy. Yeah, run the ball, control the clock, take your shots when needed. These cornerbacks can get fooled. When you've got Burks out there, when you've got Hopkins out there, throw up some jump balls, and Vrabel needs to get in the ear of these refs and say, these guys have been coached to have a tendency to hit players early. They have a tendency to jam up receivers past that 5 line. I'd get in their rear end and say, listen, please keep an eye on these cornerbacks. They play a little dirty. I've seen them. You know, it was a cheap shot against Kels that they did and where they won that regular season game where I thought that play was drawn dead and they stripped Kels there. But that was in Cincinnati. That's history. But that's what I would say if I am Vrabel. But, you know, that's looking ahead. But Cincinnati, they're still alive as of today. There's a team I picked to win the Super Bowl. I don't see how he's going to get healthy, though. My thing is, do you just take him out because it's a short week? And do you play Browning, their backup at Cincinnati? Do you play him against Tennessee? Because they have a bye week coming up pretty soon. If they're 1-4 or 2-4 after week 6, do they think they can come back, giving him a couple, 2 or 3 weeks off? It's worth keeping him healthy down the stretch because we know this guy could go on a run. We know if with a healthy Burrow, as I mentioned this back in July when this injury happened, I said, listen, folks, this is from everything I hear and read, these calf injuries are typically 10 weeks, which would have went 4 weeks into the season. Now he's re-aggravated it, but still that's something that I would have a talk with. I would ask him his opinion. Jamar Chase is saying, listen, if you're going to play, I'll go all out and make it happen. He did. He had 14. He only missed 1 catch all night, man. You know, one incompletion to Jamar Chase. But Chase is like, listen, man. No, excuse me. He missed 3, 15 targets. But he caught some good ones, though. He caught some good ones, man. Chase gave it everything he got last night, man. You know, but he said, listen, I wish you just stayed out, man. Stayed out the first 4 weeks. Even if we're 1-4 or 2-2 or even 0-4, this team's good enough to go on 8 to 10 game winning streak with the guy like a Joe Burrow. Even if they get a wild card, which I said I think they will. I think Cleveland will win this division, and I'm proven to be right. And this team will win it as a wild card team. They'll get to the Super Bowl and win it. It's still early. We're still in the first quarter of the season. It's all food for thought as of today, which, like I said, we're still not even we're still technically in the first quarter of the season. All righty then. Okay, interesting story here. So Josh Dobbs, 28-year-old Josh Dobbs, played really well. Listen, I looked this guy up today when I was preparing for the program. Dobbs is 4th. His QBR rating, his completion percentage, QBR is pretty high too, but he's 4th in the NFL in completion percentage. He's got a higher percentage than Tua. Only Justin Herbert Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen, who's taking a lot of checkdowns now because everybody's getting on them, have had a better percentage than Josh Dobbs. It was a funny thing. They got this big win over Dallas last week. Dallas was 12.5-point favorites. Like I was telling everybody, I told my dad over the weekend, I'm going to stay away from that game. There's too many injuries on the offensive line. Diggs is out with the cornerback position, but really it was the offensive line that bugged me. They ran the ball really well on Dallas. But this Arizona team, they've been in every game. They should be 3-0 or 2-0 at the minimum. They had a 20-point lead on the Giants, and the Giants came back and beat them. I think now it's sunk in that this team is good, that they shouldn't listen to guys like me. They know how good they are in their locker room. Now, I think there's still a chance they can fall apart. I'm not saying they'll go to the playoffs or anything. But Dobbs, this was funny. Here's a video that got out that went viral today about Josh Dobbs. He was looking for his jersey. He couldn't buy his own jersey from the Cardinals team store. Now, you can go on a machine and you can do a push button situation where you can go ahead and order that jersey. You know, you can order the number, the name, the team, and everything, and it just come out. It's like I've never seen like a vending machine for jerseys or something. So listen to this. This is hilarious, folks. Josh Dobbs trying to order his own jersey.
Guess what? Yo, Josh Dobbs here. All right, I'm in the team store for the Cardinals, trying to get a jersey for my fans. Check this out. So I walk over here to get a jersey made. Boom. Adult. Then I go large. Next. Then I go select from roster. Okay? Next. And guess what? Your boy is nowhere to be found. You got all the numbers and no number 9. Like, yo, I know I just got here, but at least, come on, we can at least have the custom jersey ready for me. Help your boy out.
Okay, now, what he didn't say is you can make your own jersey. You can put your own name on the back of it. That option was listed. That was hilarious. You know, he's a guy, I followed him since college. I'm out of Nashville, followed University of Tennessee. He played under Butch Jones. He played under Butch Jones his last year, 2016, his last year. Had a really good year there. Beat Georgia, beat Florida. He was their bowl MVP guy. He's not the fastest guy in the world. Does not have the strongest arm. Very smart. He's an aerospace engineer major. He's did internships at NASA. Aerospace. What did they say he was? It's just a really, really smart guy, you know. And so he gets drafted in the 4th round in April 17 to a red hot Pittsburgh Steelers team, backing up Ben Roethlisberger. Now, mind you, they've never had they've had Tomlin, defensive-minded head coach. You have a Hall of Fame quarterback you're backing up for a number of years, and he's kind of bounced around the league. Couldn't really fall into the right situation. I was trying to make the argument here in Tennessee to he's literally a rocket scientist, smart guy. And the fact that he picked up Tennessee's playbook in less than a week. Tennessee brings him in. Remember, they had the injuries to Ryan Tannehill. Malik Willis is way over his head. So they bring this guy, and I thought he did good considering the fact they brought him in. He learns the playbook in the week. This is late December. Tennessee's in the middle of a 7-game losing streak. They're blowing the division lead, and he didn't do that bad considering how bad the Tennessee line is. Of course, long story short, they didn't. They went up, drafting Will Levis and keeping Malik Willis on that rookie contract. and decided to go one more year with Tannehill. Now, Dobbs, again, he gets his first win as a starter over the Dallas Cowboys. But again, his completion percentage is 4th, fits in really well with this offense. I said they should either be 3-0, at worst 2-1. The idea was to bring him in and the team lose the games. I mean, people, they can say what they want to. This Arizona team has had their first-round pick. They got Houston, who's had a rookie quarterback. Not too bad, though. Stroud's doing pretty good. But they wanted to bank on keeping Murray out as long as they possibly can and losing as many as they can and getting one of these premier Caleb Williams, Drake May level quarterbacks. Now I'm hearing Michael Penix stocks going up with Washington. Can throw a good deep ball. Somebody like that. Maybe the guy from Duke. I don't know. But that's their plan. Now, that being said, they've got one win. They're 1-2. They got Dobbs here. Really smart, 10 times more mature than he can do what Murray can do, except he's taller. He's like 6'3". He's a calm demeanor to the offense. He's still got Hollywood Brown to throw to. Still got James Conner running the football. They had 200-something yards against Dallas's defense, which got Quinn, everybody upset there with Dallas there. Got a good running game here. They got a fair defense. It's not great. It was really good at one time year before last when they won, their first 7 games of the season. But, Dobbs is just the way he talked in that little soundbite, that's how he talks in the huddle. He's got a lot of Eli Manning type of qualities. He was never rattled. I saw him one time play against Florida, Tennessee in person, 2016. Tennessee's down 21-3 at halftime. And I'm watching other players jump up and down. They're animated. They're really ticked off. And I'm watching him just calm the guys down. We're going to be all right, man. We got this. And you could see his demeanor never really change. The guy's parents go to all of his games. Very supportive group here. And Tennessee comes back and beats Florida by 2 touchdowns. Florida kept blitzing him. He's just hitting guys deep and down the field there. And they go on and win that game and beat Georgia, a good Georgia team, on the last play of the game the very next week here. But, like I said, he's got the right system. He's got the right system that will suit him, And what if they, for example, what if they win 10 games? I don't expect them to. But the only way this stubborn owner would even consider giving this guy a 4-year, $22 million a year, a very team-friendly deal, and trade Murray, trade the Kyler Murray to somebody else. There'll be somebody that needs a quarterback. Trust me. Maybe the Jets. Jets just signed Trevor Siemian today. And it may be, Pickle says Bo Nix too, yeah. But, trade him, get this guy who's 28 and got a lot of football left in him. He's only 28. You got guys 38, 36, 37, 38, 40 playing in the NFL. Bring him in on what if he has one of those kind? I don't think it'll happen. But I'll say this, they played better. Who thought they would beat Dallas like that? So looking at their schedule, they got to play at San Francisco. Now, if they beat San Francisco Sunday, it's possible. I don't think they will. They got to play at San Francisco, Cincinnati. That's one that Cincinnati should win. But with Burrow messed up, they could beat Cincinnati. It may be going against Browning, the backup, But they have a late bye week in week 14, but 15, San Francisco, Chicago, Seattle, and Philadelphia. It would be a miracle if this team, playing teams like Pittsburgh and Houston, but they do have teams like Atlanta at home. yeah, it's possible, but they would have to get to the playoffs. But if they went 7-10 and they're in all of these games, like I said, you could make it. They had the league at halftime. They had Washington on the ropes in week 1. They had a 20-point lead over the Giants in week 2. Blew that. They handled Dallas. I mean, excuses are not for Dallas. They handled Dallas, beat them by 12. And a lot of Dallas fans in that Arizona stadium. I don't know if it can hold up, though, because they don't have a lot of talent really on defense. A lot of their players there are unknowns, But it's food for thought. It's something that nobody else is talking about. This guy is he's an interesting story in the league. Rich Gannon kind of bounced around. Remember, he played for a while with Kansas City. Then he goes over to the Raiders, wins an MVP, was a top 5 MVP finish. They get to the Super Bowl. So it's possible for a player late in his career. Look at Geno Smith now. I think Dobbs is a more talented player than Geno Smith, to be honest with you. The scouts like Geno Smith better because they took Smith in the 2nd round, Pickles. And Pickles says he could have a Geno Smith kind of year. Geno Smith's teammate punched him in the face because he ripped him off for $600. That's not the character of Dobbs. Dobbs, what would turn on the ownership and management. Now, this is a different general manager than the last general manager. You're a first-year general manager. You got a first-year head coach who I don't care for, but he did bring in an offensive coordinator that Dobbs is familiar with the system that former offensive coordinator or quarterback coach of whatnot with Cleveland. So the verbiage and everything is pretty good, So, I mean, there is a chance this guy could pull it off. Now, like I said, I would give him a try because you think about it this way. They could get mega draft picks for Kyler Murray. Think if they get like the top 5 pick or something. Well, then if they okay, think if Houston falls apart and comes down to earth. Houston's picking 2nd or 3rd in the draft. Houston, they have Houston's pick, right? Well, if one of these really good quarterbacks is there, they could get mega future picks for that, and possibly trade their pick down. That they'd probably keep their pick and build with it. But they can get a lot if Houston's bad, Because I thought at the beginning of this thing, and it still may work out, they still may fall apart. Don't get me wrong. But I thought at the beginning of this thing it was going to be Tampa. Still may be. Tampa got beat last night. And it was going to be this team. I still think Minnesota will probably win some games here. I know they're 0-3. They haven't won yet. The Bears are pretty bad. They'll probably be up there as well. Well, what if the Bears go on a winning streak toward the end of the season and they're picking behind and they still want to do away with Justin Fields? What they still want to do away with Justin Fields. So it's an interesting storyline. It's early. I get it. But food for thought there. Arizona Cardinals. Did not think I was talking about them. But, hey, that was a big win. They beat one of the best teams in football, this Dallas team. Of course, that's how they looked the first couple of weeks. Okay, so that brings me to my Power 5, folks. Let's talk about the Power 5. Let's talk let's do it backwards. Let's start off with number 5. If I can get this thing going right. Okay. Listen. So Patrick Mahomes comes back, or not Patrick Mahomes. So you've got 2 weeks back with Chris Jones. You got 2 weeks back with Travis Kelce here. And the last 2 weeks, Kansas City, I've got them at 5. They've outscored their last 2 opponents. I know one of them was the Bears. But but they outscored their last two opponents 58-19. And Mahomes missed a bunch of the fourth quarter because they were blowing out the Bears pretty bad. You look at the three running backs, all of them are contributing to this Kansas City team. Still not sure if a guy like Kelce is going to hold up. He's got the girlfriend now. May have a little bit of distraction there. Man, there's way too much Taylor Swift talk going on in the media. They're not going to say this publicly, but privately, Taylor Swift is going to be a distraction, folks. I'm telling you, she's going to. But that being said, they've won their last two, and in going away fashion, their defense has looked better this year. Bolton's playing really well. Talked about Chris Jones coming back, outscoring the last two opponents 58-19. But you've got Patrick Mahomes, Andy Reid, this group together, they feel like they can go 17-0. You know, they feel like they can go 17-0 because they're used to winning. With Mahomes, this defensive coordinator here, and Mahomes and Kelce and Chris Jones, that young defensive secondary, Bolton there at linebacker, those young cornerbacks getting confidence. These guys were rookies. They won the Super Bowl last year. They feel like they can win any week. They feel like that nobody can beat this team. And that's the way, that's their mindset. I don't think it's going to work out this way. I think Kelce will probably get banged up again. I think they're going to hit a buzzsaw. I think other teams are going to be a little bit better. I still think maybe a Charger team, although poorly coached, still has a chance to win this thing. But as of today, 3 games in, they make fifth on my Power 5 teams. And look, they're a throw away from being 3-0. I mean, much credit I want to give to Detroit. They're a throw away from being 3-0. So, Taylor Swift, drove his ticket sales up 400%. That's a distraction. That's all outside noise. They'll never say it publicly, but that is a distraction. Okay, they're still number 5. They're still number 5 in my Power 5. Okay, number 4 here. People probably not going to like this that I put the Chiefs behind this team, but this Cleveland team should be 3-0. I told you they got robbed in that Pittsburgh game. They manhandled Tennessee. At one time, Derrick Henry was -7 yards rushing. They kept him to 20 in the game. This team, number 1 in total yards defense. They are number 1 against the pass, which usually not normal for Jim Schwartz's teams. They're number 2 against the run. Number 1 against the run's Philadelphia, by the way, Jalen Carter, right? But they're all that. You look at their offensive line, even though they've got the right tackle out, this defense is totally dominant. And by the way, Watson, people saying, man, he's lost a step. 123.4 quarterback rating against Tennessee. He's only going to get better. He's played with Cooper and getting Elijah Moore involved. Had a pretty good game Sunday, right? Peoples-Jones. That's only going to get better. This team's only going to get better. They are the team to beat in the North here. They are the team to beat in the North. They will get another shot at Pittsburgh come later on this season. So I got them at 4. Very dominant defense. And if you look at every asset, every facet of the game. Okay, Eagles. Eagles at 3. Got to look at both lines. I've talked about them earlier. They're number 1 against the run. Jalen Carter is all that he's lived up to. All else coming in out of shape. What was it? The car crash. You name it. All that criticism. And I've been one to do it. I've brought it up to you on this program. But this guy I just read his stats early from them playing last night. We talked about DeAndre Swift, 300 yards in 2 games. that line, best defense, best offensive line, a borderline NFL or MVP and Hurts. They look settled down, more poised last night. I am a little concerned about some beef there, some irritation with A.J. Brown and this team. He's complained a few weeks ago about not getting the ball enough. I said that last year. I would try to work on trading him after this year because his contract goes way up. That being said, it's still early. This is a Power 5 as of today, 3 games in the season. The Eagles are the number 3 team on my Power 5 team. Okay, number 2. Everything I said that was dominant on defense about Cleveland, it's that and even better in this offensively driven league for the Dolphins. Okay. Obviously, the highest scoring team in the league, that's 70, put their averages way up. They've 34 on the Chargers, and that's a divisional opponent who knows you well. 70 on Denver now, a whopping 24 makes New England look good. But you look at the fluidity in their offense. Tua, second year in this system. You know, they've had their left tackle out. Armstead didn't even play in that game against the Chargers, and they still put 34 points up and beat the Chargers. Not to mention, now they have another element to their team, a 4.3 running. I talked about him, Devon Achane. I'm probably screwing this guy's name up. 3rd round rookie running back out of Texas A&M, can run like the wind blows. He's a 400-meter guy. Raheem Mostert, although had some injuries in the past, another 400-meter guy, can run like the wind blows. Not to mention, Waddle didn't even play Sunday, Pickles. Waddle had a concussion. They play Buffalo. They play Buffalo Sunday, and that's going to be probably the game of the week. Okay, they're 3-point underdogs at Buffalo, which I think is crazy, but Buffalo's playing really good football. But this guy, Devon Achane, 203 yards Sunday, and he caught 30 yards, multiple touchdowns. Vic Fangio's new defense going to take a little while to gel. They are middle to middle third in defense. They're not dominant yet. They're not quite dominant yet. They haven't got Ramsey back. He's supposed to be back in December, but they still have Howard there, Xavier Howard there at the cornerback position, and Bradley Chubb on the front end. This defense will get better with time with the new system coming in place with Vic Fangio. This offense, I do not see really falling off. Mike White threw a touchdown last week. Now, you could say that's running up the score. I don't know. But Dolphins are really playing at a high level. The weather's nice. I expect this with Tyreek Hill and, of course, Waddle and everybody with this team to play well with these 2 backs here. This looks a lot like the 98 Denver Broncos team on steroids. Because they had, Terrell Davis and a 2,000-yard rusher. They could go that route if they want to. But now, when you got people checking up on the line of scrimmage, then you can throw it to those speed burners on the outside, and you've got the perfect quarterback to do it. So they're the number 2 team. Not sure they're going to stay. We got to keep Tua healthy if you're Miami Dolphin fans. But if the playoffs started today, I would probably pick San Francisco and the Dolphins to meet in the Super Bowl, but they don't start today. So, again, they're my number 2 team. A lot of you probably would have them as your number 1 team because this is an offensively driven league. I get it. I do like the way McDaniel, he's going to win Coach of the Year if they keep playing this way. Another techno geek there, Pickles. Okay, number 1, San Francisco. Listen, Brock Purdy, second QBR in the NFL. This team, they have a lot of balance, run-pass balance. We talked about Christian McCaffrey and everything, but also Brock Purdy. as a starter in games that he's finished, he's not lost the game, folks. He hasn't lost the game. Remember, he got knocked out of the NFC Championship game. He looks fluid here. Second in QBR. This team is third in total defense. They're fourth in total offense. So they're right there like the Buffalo Bills were last year in both defense and offense. Okay. They went to Pittsburgh and demolished Pittsburgh. You know, I felt like they pulled back against the Giants. Yeah, the Rams played them well, but Pretty seems to only be getting better. Brandon Ayuk is really having a breakout year. You're not having to depend on Deebo Samuel too much. Kittle's still getting the ball. McCaffrey, good balance there. Very good offensive line. Much better at left tackle. Trent Williams versus Armstead. He's a left tackle for Miami. But the Miami's defense is not quite as there. But they're top 5 in both. This team's already been to the NFC Championship game. You got the second year. A lot of second-year quarterbacks go to the NFL. It's somewhat common. I've mentioned this. Tom Brady, second year Super Bowl. Ben Roethlisberger, second year Super Bowl. Russell Wilson. All those players won the Super Bowl in the second year. Young quarterbacks coming in, rookie contract, and everybody else set veterans. They got Bosa in there. Thought he was going to be a problem with this contract. He comes in, no problem. Signed Javon Hargrave out of Philadelphia. Philadelphia, lucky for them, they got Jalen Carter there. Remember, this team was handling Philadelphia before that injury. Looking back on it, Pickles, I would say if he doesn't get hurt, I think they're in the Super Bowl. Now, I'll say this. They probably still would have lost to the Chiefs. The Chiefs handled them in the regular season. This team could be better up front defensively. They could be better than that because Hargrave with Armstead in the middle there, with Warner there. See, they get only thing I worry about them is their back end defense because there's some young players there. Jimmy Ward's elsewhere now. Mosley's elsewhere. So they're breaking in some new guys, and we'll see how that plays out. But they look pretty dominant, 3-0 right now. I would put them as a number 1 team, followed by the Miami Dolphins and the Philadelphia Eagles. Okay. I know it's controversial, but that defense dominating like Cleveland's that's real. I don't think it's going to get that much worse. And, of course, Kansas City as the top 5. Buffalo would be close. From the way they played. I saw that 37-point. I tell you, if Buffalo beats them, I would. If they beat Miami, I'll put Buffalo right up there with. I'll put Buffalo ahead of Miami, because they would be, leading their division at that point. So, anyways, folks, if you like the show, share the show. Again, Belichick commented on Swift and Kels was a classic. Yeah, he said that was a nice catch. Here's a little fun fact. I looked this up today. Taylor Swift is worth $750 million. According to Forbes. Now, I'll say this. She keeps doing tours like that. Within the next 8 to 10 years, she'll be a multi-billionaire. She will be a multi-billionaire. And maybe she could buy one of these football teams one of these days. If she keeps working, of course, she's going to have to, pace herself and not throw her voice. But, Kels, he's doing this to get fame. I mean, Travis Kelce has no moral compass. I mean, he's up there. He's he wants to get that fame from Taylor Swift. He's doing these vaccine commercials. He's doing the controversial Bud Light commercials, although that they were pushing the whole transgender thing, considering the fact that, the issue with the whole the kids and the female trans. So he'll do anything to get Travis Kelce up. and that could be a distraction. Again, it's nice for media, people like me, but Andy Reid in the back of his mind saying, man, this is probably going to be a distraction. But we're going to have to work it out because Kelsey's towards the end of his contract. He's toward the end of his career. He's 34, and I don't know if he'll finish this year. He already missed one game. I predicted that. But he's already, in his mind, he's already moving on from football. He's got his rings. He'll take anything that they give to him. He will plug anything. You know, he would plug anthrax if they paid him right. He would. No moral compass for Travis Kelce. But, hey, that's you, buddy. More power to you. I wouldn't do some of the stuff that he does. I wouldn't take it now that I think about it. But that's Kelce for you. You know, that's who he is. That documentary made him look bad. I didn't know he got in trouble at Cincinnati. You know, he got in trouble at Cincinnati. And I want to say here he temporarily got kicked off or suspended from the team when he was in University of Cincinnati. I think Big Brother pulled some strings. Jason Kelce pulled some strings and got him back on. And I'm glad the guy got it back together. Don't get me wrong. He's a great tight end. He may be a Hall of Famer. He is a Hall of Famer. He may be the greatest of all time. He may even be better than Gronk, but I hope the best for him. But, yeah, he'll do anything for a little bit of fame and money. I could see that by watching that documentary with him. So, anyways, have a good night, or good to see you, Corey. Hey, guys, again, tune in tomorrow night. John Rostano, one of my favorites. Going to talk, got a bunch of stuff to go over with him. Going to talk about some college football, get his take on this Ohio State team, and much, much more. Have a good night, everybody. See you tomorrow, same time, same place, here on Sports.